Howdy, howdy, my bookworms and kitty cats. It's your girl, Fontisha G, and welcome to episode 2 of the Fontisha G Show. And tonight, or this afternoon, I'm going to mention something I just came across on YouTube. About children, I saw this, and I haven't seen this trend on TikTok, but another YouTuber that I recently started listening to mentioned something about it, and I'm just going to be honest with you guys. It's wonderful that you guys want to teach your children about blindness and showing them what it's like to be blind, but you guys are doing it the wrong way, and it's quite disrespectful to us as a blind society. I have better ideas as to how you can teach people how to be blind. And frankly, your hearts are in the correct, your hearts are in the right place. I'm not knocking what you're doing. Okay. I will say though that if you really want your children to know and understand what it's like to be blind or visually impaired, I would consult with someone who is blind or visually impaired and have them demonstrate and show them rather than you show them yourself. The reason I'm suggesting this is in lieu of you doing it yourself, is because if, let's say, for example, unlike a lot of these people in the blind community that say that, it's disrespectful, or, I mean, it is disrespectful, but to say that the parents are wrong for teaching their children about, being blind. Now, to pretend to be blind, now that is disrespectful, okay? That is outright disrespectful. It would be like us trying to pretend like we're sighted when we're not, okay? Now that's disrespectful. So here's how I would go about teaching people who are blind. Okay, so as somebody who is multi-special needs, and this is something that, it's a very serious topic, and it's very, very, shall I say, controversial. And the reason I'm suggesting that it could be controversial is simply because everybody has their own opinion about it, but here's mine, okay? If you would like for your children to know about the blind community, consult someone who's blind. Look into the blind community on social media, and message someone you think that might be interested in, instructing and enlightening your children in, the respectful, how to treat a blind person, how to interact with a blind person, and how to adapt to a blind person. That would be, so here are my, and I probably should save this topic for the Doing Everything Blind show, and I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to talk about this in a show on the Doing Everything Blind. But I think that it's important for sighted people to understand that being blind is not something you can fake, okay? It is not something you can fake. Closing your eyes, you're just closing your eyes. You're not blind, okay? It's okay. I understand like I said, I understand your hearts are in the right places. But it's just the way that you're, telling your children to pretend like they're blind, fake it, that's disrespectful. Now, what I would do is I would go about it and actually simulate being blind to show them what it's like. Okay, have them wear a blindfold. Have them close their eyes and try to walk. Cover their eyes with something. Like blindfold them. Or put goggles, thick goggles on their eyes to emulate different types of visual impairments, so that they can understand what it's like to be visually impaired or blind. Because they don't understand what it's like until they actually experience it. So there are ways for you to be able, for sighted individuals, to teach their children how to do it without being disrespectful about it. I know that Keenan and Meg kind of went at it, in their own way, and I respect it, and I agree with what they're saying. Perhaps if a parent, now mind you, I don't see these trends on TikTok because I don't listen to TikTok all that much, but here's my 2 cents, okay? If you're interested, ask. Curiosity satisfies the cat. Remember, on the Fontisha G show, curiosity satisfies the cat. The lack of expression of said curiosity can be conceived as rude. Okay? So, ask. Don't assume. That's what I mean. So, ask your questions. It doesn't hurt to ask. Right? So, it might seem like you're out of line by asking certain questions, but in reality, guys, it's not. What's out of line is when you start assuming and jump in concluding. That is when you cross a line in my book, right? When you just immediately just start assuming things about certain people with special needs. Like, for example, there's different types of cerebral palsy. There are different types of paraplegia. There are different types of autism. And no matter what your medical condition is, there are different severities and different cases, okay? Just like, for example, my case of cerebral palsy affects my ability to feel, right? I can't feel much. I don't have very limited topical sensation. I can feel my legs, I can move my legs, I can walk, but I'm pretty much, pain is non-existent, okay? I can't feel pain. I feel pain is more like an irritant. Like, I can't really tell if it's pain or if it's just an irritant, Now, the place of some parts of my body I can feel, and some parts not so much, right? So everything is different. Every case of every challenge, every condition is different. There's different cases of everything. There's different cases of being blind. There's different variations of blind. So when you say I'm blind, that's just a generic term, right? So yes, it's easier to say, well, I'm blind, okay? But are you completely blind? Do you have light and shadow? Do you have any type of perception at all? Those are very informative questions to ask, and it's very important that you ask those questions, because ignorance is not always bliss, and ignorance sometimes can be more disrespectful than you might realize. So when you're on the Fontisha G show, here are some things that I believe that you need to be aware of. And again, I will be going over this in a future topic on the Doing Everything Blind show that I do now. But tomorrow's topic will be I can't. I gotta think about tomorrow's topic. Probably should have done this for this show, but I wanted to cover this on this show, and I think I might do a variation of this topic for tomorrow's Doing Everything Blind show that I do. But I'm gonna be honest, right? When it comes to being blind, here are some do's and don'ts. All right. First and foremost, don't raise your voice. If we're not hard of hearing, we are blind. We are not deaf and dumb. Okay, we're not dumb, and we're definitely not deaf. And some people have sensitive ears because remember what we like. For those of you who are subscribed to the Doing Everything Blind channel, and those of y'all who are familiar with the episode of the Thomas and Haley show, where they talked about if one sense is lost, the other four are amplified, right? Well, hearing is one of those senses. So when someone raises their voice to a blind person, it can be overwhelming, right? Also, when you have autism on top of being blind, you're really going to be overwhelmed, right? So, don't raise your voice, okay? And when you are interacting with us, if we're the ones that are conducting business, go ahead and conduct it with us. And if we need assistance, we will, not you, we will consult our sighted companion for help, right? We do not want to be overlooked, because when you overlook us and address our caregiver or provider or whatever, or companion, don't do that. If we need assistance, we will be the ones to address our companions and ask for help. Okay. So whenever you do address us, speak to us like we're normal human beings. Speak to us like you're speaking to the next person in line. Okay? Just because we're blind doesn't mean that we're different. I mean, yes, we are different, but we don't expect you to treat us like we're stupid and dumb. And, whatever you do don't speak with this condescending tone. And you know what? You all know what that sounds like. Don't worry about it. It's, no, don't do it. Don't speak with that condescending tone. Excuse me. Don't speak with that condescending tone. And whatever you do, don't baby talk us. Oh my God, don't you dare. You're gonna wake up the bear if you do that. Excuse the hair. I took a 2-mile walk. I always take 2-mile walks. I was gonna take 3, but I've been having problems with my stomach, and I was expecting a phone call from the Doing Everything Blind team. So I was going to chug something during the show, but I thought I forgot. And I'll do a separate video for the Doing Everything Blind channel tonight, after I get home from trick-or-treating with some friends from the neighborhood. I'm just going to be honest. Don't use a condescending tone, and treat us like you treat everyone else, with respect. We deserve respect just as much as the next guy. Okay? Feel free to ask us questions. Feel free to, what can we do to help? Don't just jump in and say, let me do this. You're enabling. Don't do that. Do not enable. And, so these are just, very important tips for y'all to understand how to interact with a blind person. And for that matter, not just blind. Imagine if you're dealing with someone in a wheelchair. Right? Don't just take over. Right? Don't just take over. They have abilities, I understand, your hearts are in the right places. And this video is not to criticize you guys. Your hearts are in the right places, and you don't understand. You're intimidated by it all because you're not familiar with it. And I understand and respect that. This is why I'm coming to you guys gently with tips and tricks on how to do it. And don't be afraid to come to us and be like, hey, what can we do? Or addressing us directly when we're paying bills or whatever. That'll be $15.25. And then would you like assistance scanning the card? Offer assistance because some people, now here's the thing. It makes me uncomfortable, but at the same time, it needs to be asked, because if they're offering assistance, if you ask them for assistance, it makes, if they're offering it, I don't know, I don't find it, because more often than not, I have to ask them to help me scan it, and they don't mind, but don't be afraid to ask, do you need assistance with that? Right? Would you like some assistance with that? And that's a very valid question. And yes, especially with scanning cards, and especially if there's 5 people in line behind you, right? So it's very crucial that you're patient and you're respectful to us blind folks, because we are just as we're folks just like you are. Don't treat us like we're subhuman or fragile dolls, because we're not. We are just as capable as you are. And for those of y'all who don't think that we are capable, you guys are completely wrong. You're of the wrong opinion. You guys are of the wrong mindset. Safety is good. When you're trying to worry about some safety, I get that and respect that. However, when you do, make sure that it's not obviously, there's a way to go about safety concerns. So, what I would like for you guys to understand is that treating blind folks, that the rule that applies to everyone else, treat everyone the way you want to be treated, that goes for us too, right? We are just as capable of putting you in line as your parents are putting you in line, okay? We will put you in line if you step out of line, because we're very intelligent. We're not dumb. We're not unintelligent. We just lost the ability to see. Now, this idea of making children fake and pretend to be blind, that's dumb. That's dumb. There's a much better way of handling it, and there's a much better way to address the situation, and there's a better way to introduce children who are sighted to understand the blind community as a whole. So it's fine to introduce your children to the blind and visually impaired community, but do it in a respectful manner, and find some blind folks on Facebook. Look into the blind community, right? Reach out to somebody that you might know someone that's blind or visually challenged. Okay, I don't know what that was. So just keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that it's okay parents, it's okay to introduce your children to the concept of being blind, but do so in a sensitive manner. Show some respect, because, you know, and again, your hearts are in the right place. Your hearts are in the right place. You know, because, you know, you could lose your sight at any time. Eyesight, like anything else in life, is not, you know, you can have macular degeneration, you know, you could have 20/20 vision 1 minute and you can be pitch black blind the next. So yes, it is important for you to understand what it's like to be blind, but at the same time, do it in a respectful way. Just like trying to teach teach someone who's going to go deaf soon. You know, if you're going to introduce that concept, do so with respect, right? If you're going to do something like that, you know, teach people what it's like to have one of the senses, to have a loss of one of your senses. Do so with respect. Okay, do so with respect and dignity, and make sure that they understand that this is very serious, that it's nothing to be afraid of when it happens, but it is something to take very seriously and not to mess around with, right? So, I just wanted to pop in and give that topic on my channel, and eventually, I think I'll cover something similar tomorrow on the Doing Everything Blind show, just because I think it's a very important topic for us to cover, especially considering a lot of these, you know, these trends and stuff like that. And don't pay attention to these trends. Just like the water bucket challenge or whatever the heck that was. Don't do that. Use common sense, people. Just use common sense. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Fontisha G Show, and I will see you again hopefully tomorrow. If I have an inspiring topic, I'll talk about it. But this is the Halloween episode. I just something that just popped up on my YouTube channel or on my YouTube feed that I thought it would be. I would, you know, kind of put my 2 cents in regarding the TikTok. Like I said, I don't use TikTok like that. I used to, but I use Instagram. But I don't really pay attention to these trends, to be honest with you. I pay attention to, I'm a cat lover, so I pay attention more to the cats that I do these trends. Okay. Yes, I follow Molly Berg. I follow the other guys, but I will say this. Be careful.